And boom goes the dynamite.
Hello and welcome to Daily Dive, our Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show. No one else does it but us. In for our wonderful host, Renee Washington, I am producer Michael Karvelis saying good afternoon to some and good morning to all. On today's Daily Dive, we're going to talk the top story presented by Daily Dive Store, which is Every Child Matters initiative is returning to the NLL for a second consecutive season. In the B block, we'll talk to Sam LeClair, the Philadelphia Wings forward. And in the C block, we'll talk to Cody Janzen about the Saskatchewan Rush and a tough overtime loss to the Colorado Mammoth. Well, let's get right into it. It's time to talk about Every Child Matters returning for a second consecutive season. A reminder, our top story is presented by the Daily Dive Store, found on the link tree in our social media bios. Beanies, hoodies, you name it, support the only Monday through Friday live lacrosse show. And Renee will be back tomorrow, so don't worry about that. So what is Every Child Matters? Well, let's talk about that for a couple minutes here. It brings awareness to the forcible placement of Indigenous children in residential and boarding schools in Canada and the United States from the 19th century to about as late as 1996. This Every Child Matters initiative will take place weeks 9 through 11 with all 15 National Lacrosse League teams. Every player will be wearing a special shirt. I believe that's the one fans can buy via the Fanatics website, the NLL shop. And they're also going to be having a helmet decal all season like they did last year. New Commissioner Brett Frude seems to already be fully on board with this. As he said, our continued work with Indigenous athletes and communities is a major priority for the NLL, and the Every Child Matters education process and activations are key components of that platform. This program presents an opportunity to facilitate meaningful conversations about the atrocities perpetrated by the residential and boarding school systems, continue the journey toward reconciliation, and honor survivors and their families. So the work that's going to be happening, not just wearing the shirt and having a helmet decal, there's action involved as well. It includes educational programs for coaches, players, fan members, fans, staff members, and charitable and social responsibility programs to strengthen and enhance the ties between league stakeholders and the Indigenous community. So it's not just going out there and saying, oh, we support this, we stand in solidarity. It's going out there and even the stakeholders do something about it as well, which means the money is doing the talking as well, which is really fantastic by the National Lacrosse League. As for those shirts that are going to feature the logo next to me, fans will be able to purchase cotton shirts through the league's online store. The league will donate proceeds to 2 different funds in Canada and the United States. And we will get credit, by the way, at Daily Dive. If you click on the Fanatics affiliate link on our link tree, then no matter which sport you purchase from, we get credit for that. It helps out the show tremendously. We thank you so much for that. Again, it doesn't take away anything that the NLL is doing, but we just get credit for it. And like I said, if you're going to buy an Every Child Matters shirt, be sure to do so. Now, as for the design of the logo, apparently it's a new one. Justin Gilbert's of Kavua Designs. Justin was selected due to his work in support of Indigenous organizations and his connection to the cause, being born and raised on the Southern Utes Reservation. The logo contains a silhouette of an Indigenous child wearing a ribbon shirt and holding a wooden lacrosse trick similarly used by players during the years the schools were established. The text "Every Child Matters" appears next to the image with a heart and feather. He said, "In this logo, I wanted to celebrate the culture we as Native Americans endured to keep, since there are so many tribes that were affected by residential schools. My goal was to represent all Indigenous people who have been impacted," said, of course, Justin Gilbert. I think it looks awesome. I mean, I think last year looked awesome too. So shout out to the designer from last year's design. But hey, again, good that they're putting their money where their mouth is. It's also quite interesting that, as I said, that Commissioner Brett Frood was on board with this already. I know the former commissioner, the lady who went to the NWSL, was also showing her support for it, and that was pretty cool to see the NLL retweet that. As for more things about this, it's just, like I say, it's good that the league is doing this, and I'm not sure if the league had all teams back like last year, but they did stress the meaning of 15 teams doing this, so that was awesome to hear as well. And again, just the game has grown on Indigenous people, and there's no secret about that. Some of the best players in the National Lacrosse League are Indigenous, so we have to give a shout out to them. We also have to give a shout out to our guest coming up, Mr. Sam LeClair. He'll be talking about playing with stars like Trevor Baptiste, Ben McIntosh, and of course Joe Resetarits. And we'll talk to him about the game against the Toronto Rock and what got Sam into box lacrosse. Was there other sports he could have done? We'll talk to him next. And don't forget, Cody Janzen coming up as well. This is Daily Dive. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the Daily Dive. I am Michael Karvelis, and joining me now is a very special guest presented by Fanatics. It is Sam LeClair, Philadelphia Wings forward. Sam, what is going on? Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, sir. Well, as we know, Sam does play with the Philadelphia Wings, so let's get right into it. Because as we know, the Wings are geared up with guys like Joe Resetarits, Ben McIntosh, Trevor Baptiste. Sam, that has to help you grow as a young player. Like, am I correct in saying that?
Absolutely, absolutely. Those guys have, especially Joey and Benny, playing on the same right side as them. I'm a little bit closer with them and how we play, like, and strategize for the game. And I'm always learning from those guys. And everyone knows Trevor, right? Trevor's a fan favorite. He's someone I really learned how to be a pro and how to handle the pressure. And one thing Trevor does really well that I've learned from is taking pride in your craft.
Hmm.
Like, he's one of the best, if not the best, face-off guy in the world. And you see him always working on his craft and taking pride in that. And that's something that, as a young guy, I can definitely learn from and bring into my own game. And yeah, those guys are awesome to learn from.
That's got to be great. Would you say that it comes more from practice, or does it come with playing in game, or just spending time with them in general?
Little bit of all that combined. In this league, we don't get to spend a lot of time together because we're on the road just on the weekends, and everyone's back home in their
Right.
respective cities or countries during the week. But when we are together, it's very impactful. Everyone's hanging out. Everyone has something to say, and as a young guy, I'm always a sponge for that. Sponge to learn. The time we have to practice, I'm always asking questions. What can I do here? What can I do there? And yeah, I think it's a combination of all that. And then obviously playing together, chemistry is only going to grow, and we're all going to get better as a group. And hopefully, in the end, we're at that final destination where we want to be, right? And raising that trophy over our heads and being champions for the city of Philadelphia.
It's got to be an awesome moment for you, just playing with those guys and learning from them and just building off them as you. I believe you're 23 years old, if I'm not mistaken. So it's got to be humbling at the same time. It's just awesome, I'm sure, for you. Um, let's get to the game aspect of it, and then we'll get to something more personal. Um, Following a loss to Panther City, and you had a goal, I believe, which is pretty cool, although it was a loss. This week you guys are home again. Well, home and playing for the Wings, and it's the pretty good Toronto Rock. Have you looked at anything about their games yet? And do you guys have a plan that you can kind of disclose here? That's not obviously telling the whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah, we've been watching them closely. They're a strong team. They're gonna come out firing, right? Just like any team in this league. There's no easy games. So anyone can beat anyone at any time, and you have to be ready at every time it's game time. And if you're not the guy during the week preparing, you're not going to be the guy when the lights are on, right? So when during the week we're watching our film, we're in the gym, we got our sticks in our hands, we're always going to be prepared for the next matchup. So when the lights come on, we're ready to go.
Side question here. I mentioned playing with guys like Joe and Trevor and Ben, but how's it going up almost every week against guys like um Tom Schreiber and other stars in the NLL? That has to help you as well, right?
Yeah, it's definitely something that you dream about as a kid, right? And myself only being 23, it's easy to get caught up in that stuff. But once the whistle blows, we're all the same player. We're all out there. We all got our respective jerseys on, and it's game on. So once the whistle blows, it's not really something I think about, but it's definitely cool when you put it into perspective. Something to be grateful about the situation and position I'm in to play the game I love and play alongside some of the world's best.
I want to get to our top story, and then I'll get something more personal here. Every Child Matters is coming back to the NLL this season. It's her second year in a row doing so. I believe that's your first 2 years in the league, which is awesome as well. What is your quick take on that? Just being a part of something that's so meaningful to Indigenous people.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredibly impactful for the Indigenous people, and it's very important to spread that message. I think the league's done a really good job the last 2 years of spreading that message and raising awareness because it's truly something that not a lot of people knew about. knew about in the history of what's gone on in the world. But it's something that needs to be talked about. It's an uncomfortable conversation for some, but it's definitely something that needs to be brought to everyone's attention, and so everyone's aware of why this game's played and who it's played for, and all the small moments in life not to take for granted, because things like this do happen, and the awareness is definitely uh, growing, and it needs to continue to grow as the message is spread.
It's an indigenous game for sure. And thank you for sharing your thoughts on that, kind of off the cuff there. Um, this one I have to ask you. I'm a fan of box lacrosse, but I'll be honest, there's other sports like basketball and football and those things that kids like to play. Growing up in the era that we do and did, was box lacrosse your first sport? Could there have been other sports you were going to play? What made the NLL your dream in the end?
Um, as a kid, like in Canada, you're usually playing hockey in the wintertime when the ice is out. And then right when it's that season ends, it's lacrosse season. It's box lacrosse season. The ice melts, and then we're playing on concrete in the box in Canada. That's Most kids have that same story. If you're from Canada, you're a hockey
Sweet.
player in the winter and a lacrosse player in the summertime. But I feel like lacrosse just kind of stuck with me. It was something I fell in love with. Fall in love with your stick, bring it everywhere you go, bring it to school, all that kind of thing. It's a little bit different for hockey. You don't really always have ice available to you. Lacrosse, you can always get better. You can always have your stick in your hand and just play, shoot the ball around, and all that stuff. But yeah, lacrosse definitely stuck for me, and somewhere I had some success as a kid, so I just stuck with it. And the hockey dreams kind of died behind it, but that's all good.
Hey, NLL is a growing sport. So is lacrosse in general. Sam, I appreciate you for taking time out of your day. Um, have fun this weekend. I hope you score another goal, and hopefully this time you guys can win. But keep on learning, keep on being awesome, and we would be glad to have you on the show again. Thank you so much, Sam, for joining the show today, man.
Thanks for having me. Go Wings.
Oh yeah, Sam LeClair, everybody from the Philadelphia Wings. We are so happy to have him on the show, and just I love talking to a guy who's younger than me because it puts in perspective where I'm at in my life. And I thought it was so cool that Sam was able to talk about those things, about the humbling experiences of playing against guys and with guys. And of course, the every child matters thing that he's right. I didn't know about it until I started watching lacrosse. So love that. And like I said, for him to be 23 years old, scoring a goal, more than one in the NLL, is pretty stinking cool. When we come back, another guy who knows a thing or two about lacrosse, which in the broadcast booth, it's Cody Janzen, a returning guest on the show. What happened in overtime? Got to get his thoughts coming up on Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back to the Daily Dive. I'm joined here by obviously a Saskatchewan Rush fan and a broadcaster for them. Love the hat, Cody. Welcome back to Daily Dive, man. Oh, the mic's not working again. We'll be all right. Well, we're talking about this is NLL this week, and of course, Saskatchewan Rush tough overtime loss to the Colorado Mammoth. Cody will try to get that fixed in just a moment, but you have to wonder if the Rush were kind of, down on them. Cody, can you hear me now? Or can we hear you? We cannot. Let's try it again. But the Rush, I mean, we were riding high on them. 2-0. Looking good. Are they back? Cody says they're back. Well, to be fair, I did too. But what's going to happen next, though? They lost to the Seals, and I believe, and then they lost to the Mammoth this past weekend. Reese Dutch, of course, the new signee, came in there and blasted one home. And Cody did tell us last week the game would be a little bit tougher. So, what's going to happen with the Rush going forward? And Cody, can I hear you now?
There we go. I think so.
Woo! Thank God.
Just had to reset the system. Not a tech
Right.
expert. Guess I'm stuck with you today, eh?
Yeah, right. Poor Renee. I know she would love to do both these interviews today. She will be back tomorrow and probably to see you next week as well if you come back on. Cody, we were riding high on the Rush, man. It was 2-0, feeling good. Now it's 2-2. What happened in overtime to a Mammoth team that you said would try to rough it up, and they did?
Well, I hate to correct you, but they were never 2-0. They were 1-1, and then they were
It
2-1.
felt good.
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, hey, Colorado plays a physical, gritty style. They're good defensively, and I think they really just executed. They capitalized on their chances. That was the big noticeable factor for me. Was they were stinging the corners on some outside shots, and the Rush weren't exactly hitting theirs. So sometimes on a road game, bounces don't go your way. Saskatchewan was there, step for step with them, but we also knew Colorado was going to have a little bit more oomph in their game after getting embarrassed in week 1.
And Bears is putting it lightly, I'd say. Um, and I hate to be the bearer of bad news here, but a lot of teams have been making moves. Have you heard anything about the Rush from the inside about them possibly making a splash, like a trade, even a free agent, or are we staying put? We like where we're at.
Well, I'll never give away, what's happening on the inside, but I think it goes for every team that's kind of in this spot where no one's completely satisfied. If there's an opportunity to make a move, I think every NLL GM is going to be in some way, shape, or form. I think that one of the bigger things, and I believe I put it out on Twitter a while ago, is that Saskatchewan has 2 first-round picks next year and 4 second-round picks. So again, I think you wait until the trade deadline to see where your team sits. But also, is this an opportunity for Derek Keenan to move, a second round pick, a couple of second round picks, maybe if it's even a first rounder, and improve your team? I don't even know which way you would really look to. Like, maybe it is adding a veteran lefty on the back end. I hate to speculate because again, you hope to get Ryan Barnable back and see his impact when he's healthy. Ryan Dilks, I believe Ryan Dilks will play end of the month here as long as he's passing all his physicals. Like, I think that getting healthy is the number one addition for Saskatchewan right now, right? They've been nothing but banged up to start the year, and you still go 2-2 while playing Colorado twice, San Diego once, and Panther City, who's given everyone fits this year. So it's been a tough start for Saskatchewan, especially battling injuries.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I know you guys are off this week, but in 2 weeks we're got a home game against the expansion Dogs. And no disrespect to the Desert Dogs, but I know they played harder for at times. But is it almost like a feel good spot for the Rush, like just be on your A game and just pepper them 18-6, or are we going to respect every team in the NLL here?
Oh, I mean, everyone would love to do that, right? But Vegas isn't a free spot on the bingo card, right? That's the
Right.
difference between, expansion teams of the past versus this year, where they have put up a fight against some decent teams. So I'm not counting Vegas out by any means. I think everyone knows their goaltending's pretty young, especially if they're going to go with Kells. Their offense hasn't exactly been ideal, except for the game against Vancouver, and Vancouver was winless coming into that game. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to be an easy one, but for Saskatchewan, you're back on home floor coming off of a bye week. You're expected to win that game. Like, you're damn right, they're going to be favorites. And I think that does play into the next stretch of games where I think, of your next 6 games, I was kind of looking at it and like they should probably be 4-2 in those next 6. Like I would expect them to be 4-2. And again, that's high expectations. Maybe that's not high enough. But I think that if you're going to continue to play 500, you're going to be in real trouble come trade deadline because making up ground in the West isn't easy.
No, I agree with that, especially with Calgary and everybody else playing out of their minds. One more thing I want to ask you. Mark Matthews, at 32 years old, has more assists in 4 games than Jeff Teat does in the same amount of games. Has it got to feel good seeing this guy still producing at such a high level?
I don't know what your beef is with Teat. I see all the tweets, and
I
that's
love Jeff Teat.
It's
I
funny. I
hold
mean,
him to a high
great player.
standard.
Hey, I think they're both world class players, right? They both do different. They're different styles. I mean, one's massive, and the other one's as shifty as they come. So I think, and this isn't a jab at the Riptide. I think that he could use a little bit more help around him. I mean, he's not
Agreed.
playing with a Robert Church. He's not playing with a Ryan Keenan. So, and again, but Mark Matthews is just one of the best to ever play. And I've heard a lot of people say that he is one of the most, in his prime, was the most dominant NLL player of all time. So there's obviously that high praise. But I think if you would ask Mark about his first 4 games this season, he'd be the first to tell you that there's a couple areas he wants to improve on. I think he had 10 shots on goal against Colorado and he only had 1 goal. 10% shooting, isn't going to work for Mark Matthews. He knows he can be better. He's going to elevate his game. Again, everything's a law of averages. So what goes down comes up, whatever, what goes up comes down. I'm not a, philosopher, but like, I don't know. I think it's an interesting start for a lot of these veterans who are playing good. They can still play a little better. I still think they've got a little bit more in them. And I don't think that's asking anything crazy when you consider the Rush's 2 losses have both come in overtime, and they're 2 shots away from being 4-0.
Love it. Cody, I know we're up against it this week, but I do appreciate you coming on once again to the show, supporting the Daily Dive. I'm a big, I love supporting the Rush. Great fan base, great players across that roster. We wish you guys the best. Enjoy you guys' week off. And in 2 weeks, we're right back at them. But thanks again, Cody, for joining the Daily Dive.
Hey, I seen Sam LeClair was on earlier, so I had to give a shout out to the World Juniors 2019. So that season, he's an alumni of that. I just wanted to throw that out there. I know that there's some news in that regards coming up for this summer once again. But hey, always a pleasure to stop by. I know I got to run. Would love to chat lacrosse forever with you. But hey, appreciate you and take care.
You too, Cody, and thank you again. Cody Janzen, everybody, Saskatchewan Rush play-by-play. We had Sam LeClair on. I know this show was, Renee was not on today, and that's okay because we got through it. Reminder that Monday through Friday, it's a grind, everybody. You know it's a grind, and it can feel long. But our friends at B-Res Coffee are here to give you that extra boost of energy that you need. With a ton of blends to choose from, B-Res Coffee is sure to elevate your daily routine. It's our go-to coffee now. To check it out for yourself, go click the link in our bio and get yourself a sample pack. Don't forget to use the promo code DailyDive when checking out. That's B-Res Coffee, B-R-E-Z. Thanks so much for tuning in. Don't forget to follow Daily Dive on social media, Daily Dive LAX, that's Daily Dive LAX, and subscribe if you're on YouTube. We would greatly appreciate it. Thanks to all of our guests that come on and make this show what it is, and we'll be back tomorrow with Renee and more as well. This has been the Daily Dive. Have a great one, everybody. Bye.